Hello, dear students. Today we are going to learn yet another very interesting story written by Munshi Prem Chand called The Festival of Eid. As I have told you in the previous video, Munshi Prem Chand used to be one of the best Indian writer in the pre-independence period. He has written more than 300 novels and short stories that were based on the daily lives of ordinary people. And he used to do a lot of literary work on social evils like zamindari system, widowhood, and the difference between rich and poor. In this particular story, the main character is a 4-year-old boy called Hamid who lives with his grandmother Ammi Jan Ammi. He doesn't have father who has died of cholera, and his mother also died of some unknown disease. This is the time of Ramzan when people are fasting and they have just finished fasting, and it's the time to celebrate Eid, right? And you can see the explanation in the first two paragraphs is about the activities that are going on at that period of time. People are buzzing, people are busy with their activities. Some of them are preparing to go to the Eidgah mosque, and delicacies are being cooked at home. So one of the most favorite delicacies, sevia, which is vermicelli pudding cooked in milk and sugar. Now, the happiest boy in the village is Hamid. The author is calling Hamid as the happiest boy, although he's poorly dressed, thin and pale, and he's just 4. You can, from this explanation, you can understand, you can sum it up that he doesn't have a very strong financial background, and he's only taken care of by his grandmother since his father and mother passed away. Now, Ammi Jan Amina has brought him up in such a manner that this boy is always as happy as a lark. So lark is a bird which is very chirpy and always active. So he was unaware of his financial state and what was going on with his life. He was unaware about anything negative in his life. He had a very positive attitude about life, and that is all because Ammi Jan had built a you know an environment, an atmosphere. She's created an atmosphere and a belief system around him that helped him remain hopeful. So here the author says, hope is a magical thing. For a child, there is nothing like hope. So he is just like every other child. He was very innocent, and he was very hopeful that his father would one day come back with sack full of silver, and he could buy toys which are better than his friends. Moving forward now, Hamid is preparing go to the Eidgah mosque, and the grandmother, most of the time, she would shed bitter tears in her hovel, in her room. Why bitter tears? Because she would only put a happy face in front of him, and she would pretend as if nothing has happened, right? And she would tell him that his father would come back one day, but deep inside her own heart, she knew that her son Abid is never going to come back. And she just wished that on this special auspicious day, her son was there to take this little boy to the mosque, and he would have bought him things, right? So she hoped that everything was normal with this little boy, just like the other children. But it was not so. So Hamid did not have a pair of shoes, and she wondered how is he going to walk for 7 kilometers to the Eidgah mosque. But um, he was not at all thoughtful about it, and he was full of spirit. And he tried to convince her by saying that I'm not going alone, and my friends will be there. So don't worry about me. I'll be back soon. She could have gone. She thought she could also have gone, but she had to cook vermicelli at home, so she could not go. So Hamid joins his friends, and then they walk to the Eidgah mosque to offer prayers. So all the villagers they live in one party, and the boys were ahead of the elders, and they wait under a tree for the elders to join them. The streets were all crowded because everybody, grown ups as well as children, would go to mosque to offer their prayers. Even the tongas and carts were filled with streets. So some people walked and some people would take the tongas to reach the Eidgah mosque. Once they offered their prayers, you can see that the narrator has said there were sweet shops and the Eidgah fair was there. There were toy stores. So once the prayer was over, they all moved to, they descended on the sweet shops and toys like an army moving to an assault. What does that mean? Army moving to an assault. If you have seen in a war, how do the army march to attack their enemy? In a hurry and with great force, right? So same thing happens here. So that is what the narrator is trying to compare these people, that they are they look like the army moving to an assault. And then after having food, after entering the fair, the first thing they see was the swings, the rides, right? So Ammi Jan had given him only 3 paise, and compared to the other children of Hamid's age, that was nothing. 3 paisa is a very small amount. When he sees the swings and everything, he also feels like going maybe, but since he had only 3 paise, he had to control his feelings and he had to stand back, right? And while he was looking at them, his friends were enjoying rides, different kinds of rides. Some of them were swinging, some of them were in the merry-go-round. They were they were taking merry-go-round rides in wooden elephants, horses, and camels, and they were ready to pay any amount to enjoy the rides. And also, after the rides were over, they go to so Hamid was watching them enjoying the rides. After the rides were over, now it was time for the toys. There were row of stalls on one side with all kinds of toys, right? And their friends were tempted, so was Hamid, to buy all these toys. They looked so lifelike. He saw soldiers, milkmaids, kings and ministers, water carriers, and washerwomen. And in fact, 3 of his friends, they bought their favorite toys. So what did Hamid buy? He bought a policeman in khaki, right? And Mohsin buys a water carrier, and Noori buys a model of lawyer, right? And but Hamid did not have enough money, so he just had to watch them buy all these toys. And then after seeing the toys, they move. All Hamid, so he cannot afford to pay that. And then he gave excuses to himself why he should not buy. See, he's also a wise boy, and he knew that these toys are useless because they were made of clay, they were made of soil, right? And he knew that if he bought these toys, then they would either run out of color when dipped in water, or they would break if it smashes on the ground. So according to him, these were of no use. So he doesn't buy anything. After they walk from the toy shop, they walk out from the toy shops, they go to the sweet shops. Now there were delicacies, different kinds of sweets made everywhere. And of course, everybody was hungry by now and they wanted to relish on all the good things that they saw. There were big juicy gulab jamun, sticky halwa, yellow rose scented laddus, and all of them they start eating. However, Hamid only had 3 paise, so he could not afford any of these. To top it all, Mohsin, one of the friends, he also makes fun of him. He offers a sesame candy to Hamid and then withdraws. He doesn't give it, and then everybody laughs at Hamid. And how would Hamid feel? Of course, he was crestfallen, in the sense he was very, very sad. He was very sad. Then after eating in the sweet shop, they keep on walking. They continue walking, and Hamid was still on a look. Right, he wanted to spend his 3 paise, and he wanted to spend it wisely. So then they come across, after the sweet shops, they saw some stalls that were selling things made of iron, and metal pots. Of course, this shop was not meant for children, and the children didn't even look at it. But Mohsin stopped there and he sees a pair of iron tongs. Iron tongs are not toys, they are not meant for children. Still, he wanted to buy it for Ammi Jan because she used to burn her fingers every time she made rotis for him. And see how thoughtful is this boy. Although he is only a four, he only although he is only 4 years old, he knew exactly what compassion is and how thoughtful was he. So he bargained with the shopkeeper and bought a pair of tongs for 3 paise. Okay, so the shopkeeper was also ready to bargain and he gave these tongs for 3 paise. Now, when his friends see that, they again start laughing at him and they were saying, "What are you doing? You're buying tongs. Are you crazy?" But Hamid contests all his friends and he was able to prove that his toy was much better than the toys that they bought. What reasons did he give? He said that, see, your toys are made of clay, and if you drop them on the ground, they will smash into pieces. And if water falls on them, they will run out of color. But here, my tongs are made of iron, they will never break. And he also tells them that, have you ever seen these mendicants, singing mendicants? And he says that they make the same clanging sounds as a pair of cymbals. So the singing mendicants or the traveling singers, they carry cymbals, they play these cymbals and sing songs. Hamid tells them that I can also use these tongs as cymbals, and I can use them. If you put it on the shoulder, it's like a gun. And that made his friends think about it. And then they realized that, of course, his toy was better. It's not breakable, and you can use it as a musical instrument, and you can also use it as a gun. So everybody wanted to buy his toy now. And in fact, Sami, who bought a small tambourine for 8 paisa, was now ready to exchange his gift with Hamid. But Hamid denies. He does not want to give his pair of tongs to anyone now. So the boys who realize that he made a better bargain go to their parents and then they ask their parents to give them money to buy that. But they were already halfway and the parents were not agreeing to give them any more money. They could not go back to the fair to buy these tongs. It was already noon time. The sun was up. It was getting hotter and they had to reach home as soon as possible. So they could never buy it. And he went home with a feeling of joy and success that that he could buy a better toy and he could wisely use that money. When he reaches home, what was the grandmother's reaction? The grandmother, as soon as she sees Hamid coming with a pair of tongs in his hands, she was furious. She calls him, "You silly little boy," right? She says, "You're a silly child. It is almost noon and you haven't had anything to eat or drink." So she gave the money for him to eat something. But instead of eating, he bought a pair of tongs, which is so silly for a child. And then she said, "Couldn't you find anything better than this pair of tongs?" And then Hamid was a little, taken aback and he answered in injured tones. So he was happy that he got it for his grandmother, but he was also tired and he was also tired and he had to, tell his grandmother why voice which shows that one is hurt. So he was wondering why his grandmother is not happy with the gift that he bought for her. Right? So he says that, oh grandmother, I thought you would be happy. I bought this for you. I bought this tong for you because you always burn your hands on the fire. That's why I bought these tongs for you. And this actually moved the woman's temper. The old woman suddenly, her anger changed to love. And then she thought to herself, what a selfless child he is, what a large caring heart he has. So although he did not have money, although he lived in a very poor state, he was deprived of many things. but look how rich he is from his heart. And his grandmother hugged him and prayed to Allah to bless him. That's the end of the story. The strong message that we get from this chapter is this, that age is only a number, right? And even an innocent child can have wisdom, and he can show compassion. He can also teach us, not only the children of his age, but the adults, this lesson of compassion and thoughtfulness. And this is what the festival of Eid is meant to be. It is a festival which encourages us to demonstrate our feelings of thoughtfulness and compassion, how we can think good about others, how we can do good to others, right? And how we can live in harmony with each other. So that's the chapter. If you have any questions, any queries, please go ahead and ask. I'm going to end the chapter here. Take care. Bye bye.